via email, how many articles or how often would you feel like writing? And the guy tells me, once a day if you'd like. I was like, whoa, dude, you can go every other day, a couple of times a week. Are you sure there's enough content? He sounded just like John, except in an email. Oh, yeah, off-season trades, free agency, wait a minute, plenty to talk about. So this is about all the talking I'll be doing like this during the off-season, folks. I'll just babble and let these guys do their thing. And as we talk about that, John, you brought up the next topic. We have talked before on this show several times about the issues, the dangers, lives lost, endangered, injuries when it comes to baseball bats in baseball. There's been nets that have been put up, but there's been a change. John, what's going on?
Well, Major League Baseball, I think, has, they finally decided that protecting the fan base and protecting the season ticket holders in particular that sit close to home plate and to the first and third base sections was something that needed to be done based on some unfortunate incidents that took place last summer with baseballs being hit into the stands and also some bats that ended up in the stands as well. And so baseball has decided that netting is going to be extended, and I think it's a very good move. I'm curious as to how season ticket holders across the landscape of Major League Baseball will react to this, but I think fan safety is, I thought it was going to be the number one issue when we got to the off season. I still think that that's the case, and I think that baseball has addressed it.
Chris?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea to have the netting in all the stadiums, because fan safety is a big priority. So keeping the fan safe is something that I expect Major League Baseball to address this off season and in the off season to follow.
Now we're talking about the field level seats here, which is for the most part where season ticket holders do sit. Those are usually the most expensive seats in any ballpark that you happen to go into. And we're talking about netting that's going to basically go from dugout to dugout, as well as some netting that'll be behind home plate, about 70 feet from where home plate would be situated. So I think that the safety issue has, for the most part, been addressed, and if fans want more information on it when they buy tickets, they can have conversations with the ticket sellers at each individual team and each individual ballpark, so that they have a good idea of where their seat location is as it pertains to the netting. And as I understand, there are some teams already that are looking into the type of netting that they're going to use to extend from dugout to dugout. Some teams are going for the thick stuff, and some people are going for the rather thinner stuff, just in case fans aren't interested in watching games through a net.
Yeah, I think it's great for teams to actually give fans all the information as possible, so they can make an informed decision, but also keeping them safe as well. So actually giving them an option is a great idea.
All right, Chris, here's the one question I really have. We're talking about Major League Baseball stadiums. We're not talking about the spring training sites. Why?
Well, I think we're not talking about the spring training ones, because even though spring training does affect a lot of fans, it's not like having a stadium like Citi Field that can hold like 40,000 fans. So I think because more fans go to the regular season games, that's why you haven't heard anything about spring training stadiums.
But you know as well as I do, it's only going to take one incident for that to change.
Yeah, I think if a fan gets badly injured during the game during this spring training, then that will force Major League Baseball to maybe change their stance and actually extend this rule to spring training cities as well in Arizona and Florida.
And maybe eventually to minor league baseball as well?
Man, you would have to think. You would think so. You would have to think so. I mean, this is a safety issue.
Yeah.
I mean, it pains me because, every time new big stories come up in sports, John, I can't help but rewind my clock, and we know that it had to be happening since the beginning of time. Somebody's going to get hit by a foul ball, a broken bat. Not just the player. We see it when it happens clearly on the field with another player. But
But here's the problem with that, though, Ralph, especially when we talk about minor league baseball, the expense of it.
The expense of what?
The expense of the netting and the fact that we have, minor league baseball, you really don't make a ton of money. If you own one of these teams, you really don't make a ton of money doing this. You really are an owner of a minor league team because, well, you love the game. Not necessarily because you're interested in making a lot of money at this.
Well, by God, I'll be damned. I'll go to my major league affiliate and tell them put a damn net up.
Well, now to me, that's the interesting part. Would a Major League Baseball team, organization, be willing to do that for their affiliates?
Jesus God Almighty, Chris, I hope so.
Yeah, you would think so, because if an incident does happen at a minor league game, you would hope that the major league team affiliated with that minor league team would step in and actually provide the funds for the minor league, for the respective minor league team to actually put up netting, but you just don't know.
I think that's a very interesting question. I really do. Would Major League Baseball organizations be willing to foot the expense to put netting into all of their minor league affiliate ballparks? We're talking about at least maybe 5-6 teams for each affiliate.
Okay. And what would I have another question with that then? What do you think the backlash would be if they didn't?
Well, I think we're about to find out this summer if something happens.
All right, another topic that we'll have to discuss. I absolutely love that. I mean, it is something to think about because, again, sports is now in a phase, in a place where football, finding out the movie Concussion is going to come out, and though, of course, it has been said that a movie like that, for us that know the game and what's happened and transpired, won't be shocked. For those who don't, for those who are just learning about it or gaining interest on it, they're going to be completely blown away by what they see and learn. But what I'm getting at is, it isn't just football. It's all these sports, little by little. Hockey is one of those sports when I wonder, well, how long are they going to let these guys kick each other's ass, man? Somebody's going to hit somebody with a right hand one day. Or some guy might, sometimes some guy gets crazy, man. You're going to grab a stick and ram it up. I mean, it's dangerous. And when it comes to I'm talking about players right now, the athletes. When it comes to the safety and welfare of the fans who are the reason these players get paid, and the team makes money, you would hope that backlash should be very strong if that's not done. John, you bring up a great point though, because it's not like you're talking one minor league affiliate for each team. And then maybe the team is like, well, yeah, of course, we're not going to do it in our stadium and then not do it in the minor. What are we trying to just say? What message are we sending to the fans? But yes, the expense of 5 and 6, even for a major league team that's got billions, that's an expense.
And as I say, I think it's an interesting question because, again, we're just talking about the major league stadiums for the time being. We're not talking about their spring training sites, and we're not talking about their affiliates. So I think there's more to this that I think needs to be done and researched because, again, if an incident happens in spring training or if it happens at one of these minor league ballparks, then I think you opened up a Pandora's box that really needs to be looked at before it opens.
Now, gentlemen, I want to close out the show with another story I happened to come up upon on MLB.com. Really gives me interest because, again, it's by Paul Hagen of MLB.com. And the title is what got to me right away, guys. MLB working to expand Mexican presence. And, we know that we live here in America. And it's nothing for us to look at baseball teams across Major League Baseball and know that, of course, they are not made of just American players. It is every player's dream across all lands, I would assume, that one day, whatever language they speak, they may be able to live their dream and play in Major League Baseball in America. And you have players from every all over the place, and it really caught me. Chris, Your thoughts on this about? I think it's great. I think it's great, Chris.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea for MLB to have players from Mexico come here. I think it'll grow the sport, and it's always a good idea to have more people watching baseball. It helps sport grow and reach new people.
And I'll say this, guys. I mean, the NBA has done the same thing. Recently, they had a game down in Mexico City where the Boston Celtics and Sacramento Kings played each other, basically under the same concept that they were trying to bring the NBA game to Mexico to see if there would be a tremendous amount of, or even a slight amount of interest in the game. And they found that a good portion of the fan base down there, the sport fan base down there, was very interested in the NBA basketball, and a very big crowd showed up to watch that particular game. I think that if Major League Baseball decides to bring, say, a couple of teams down there to play either regular season games or exhibition games, I think you may be opening up a door here that Major League Baseball really does want to open up.
Well, as I read the article real quick, as you guys were talking, some of the points about this. First and foremost is that the MLB and the Mexican League have been working towards this agreement that's supposed to increase the number of Mexican players at the upper levels of professional baseball, including the big leagues. It was first reported by the USA Today that Commissioner Rob Manfred, he's talked about, the MLB's future. He's trying to make his mark, of course, as the new commissioner, and started off pretty well, in my opinion. And he really believes that this is a great move, of course, not only for Major League Baseball, but of course Mexican baseball. As a matter of fact, it says here that the MLB they plan to open an office in Mexico City next year, of course, to generate the growth of that game there. Of course, they say they have issues they have to work out about how it's going to be overhauled, as far as the player movement. And always, of course, financial compensation. And one of the things that struck me here, John, on this article, of course, under Mexican League rules, the reserve system allows teams to acquire rights to players as young as 13 and keep them in perpetuity, which, geez, I hate to translate that.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about that, too. I would like to see that at least extend to high school age as opposed to being 13.
Right, and the good part I like here is, according to USA Today, there would likely be a draft instead of allowing American teams to sign players as amateurs, as is done in the Dominican Republic and Venezuela. Any deal would have to be approved, of course, by Major League Baseball Association, and I like that because it makes me feel very uncomfortable, Chris. And I read this statement again. Under the current Mexican League rules, the reserve system allows teams to acquire rights to players as young as 13 and keep them in perpetuity. Look, I don't want to use a bad word here, man, but what are you trying to tell me? I mean, you're 13 and I'm locking you up. I don't like the sound of it either, John. I like that to change. Chris?
I think the age requirement should at least be 21. I think 13 is way too young.
Look, like I said, I think high school age would work for me. I think 16, 17 years of age, I think would be the age that, if there's going to be a compromise, I think that's where the compromise lands.
Mm-hmm. And yes, because it isn't like they're not playing baseball at an early age in Mexico. Are you kidding me? Just like they do here in America, they're playing as soon as a kid can hold a bat.
Well, I think in Mexico, the game of baseball is probably taken a bit more seriously than it is here in the States, just based on the fact that here in the States you have other options, and lacrosse is becoming one of those options, by the way. I think in Mexico, baseball is still a more revered sport.
Well, try not to choke on myself. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, you've been listening to the NGSC Sports Baseball Weekly Show, In the Batter's Box. I am your host, Ralph Garcia, and I'm always joined each week by my co-hosts, John Doucette and Chris Lacey. Please remember the website, ngscsports.com. All of your current content, all of our shows. We have NCC Basketball. We call that Play-by-Play Live with Joey Jarzinka, the voice of Nashville Community College football and now basketball.